I watched you care. I watched you twist and wind with care. The threads of belonging you cared to call words. I cared to watch you because, simply said, I cared that I was never invited to hear the care of this moment. I was never to sing song they care to begin in the loom of speech, whose last breath your publisher carried just one moment ago. They began in the loom of speech, in the care of her lament for loss of inspiration from his beloved lyric muse, for loss of the care inspiration provided her. Muse, but I once again, since we speak of the words within, since we care now again to speak of the beloved lyric muse, since we care now to speak once again of the dependency upon such words within, I was never to sing the words aloud, but to care, to sing song form from care word thread into, because though blind I found myself within the sight of such words, because though cared for myself, word threaded into page, not cared for blind, found myself among the dependency of such words once again. Carried presence as careful, I from within sight carried, so I sensed such carryable sentences, though myself not among those, to the presence of I, so I carried to sense the turning toward such a sentence, the indecipherable sentence, so I sensed the turning toward of belonging within your care, the careful threadwork of your caring loom. You are still careful, spinning, carefully spinning, dangling, turning toward within the spindle, and carried because the letter, as I, the letters themselves of carriage within a carried word, never allowed to care to speak, to care to say, to care to scream, twisted to right, twisted to left. I can hear only the excise remainder of what is carried. I can only carry my hearing among the excited remainder. I can only sense the turning toward such a belonging within of the other's care, dispossessed, caring whether twisted to right, in carriage or left, the letters themselves within such a word were never allowed to speak, to say, to scream, into careful sentence, or simply cast, torn and broken, the excised remainder. So I sense the turning, such a belonging within the threadwork of your loom, torn and broken carriage. They bleed not, nor do they roam, they neither pasture, nor do they offer their purest necks of careful sacrificial virtue to the excised remainder of the speaking, the saying, the screaming. They bleat not, nor do they roam. They neither give pasture. Who cares to take away twisting her fingers, because I could never twist such nimble and delicate fingers to the carriage right or the carriage left. The carriage taker, her returns in kind, who cares to twist her fingers? I could never twist such nimble and delicate fingers. Who cares to twist to the left of the carriage, the cradle to the right? Because I had them not, I had not been knotted from them of what became, because I could not carry within, because I knew not, I had them not within such twists, such careful, nimble, such carefully delicate fingers, because I could not, because I had not, and carefully delicate fingers, cared to know them not, because I had not cared to become them, because I had not been knotted within such care. The benefit of such nimbleness from the very beginning, I could never twist such nimble and delicate fingers, twisting her fingers to the right, nor the caretaker who twists her fingers to the left. Exclusion, though carrying They're carrying their lack of strength beyond to burden them, beyond courage to raise them, hold them. I knew them not, I had them not, I had not been knotted within them, carry their care among themselves, who were excluded from the care of learning to speak, of learning to say, of learning to read in the careful language of uncaring stones. So, in their careful threads, I see and hear carriage within, and turn the letters to see and hear the twist and turn, the care the letters bear, beginning just as some limited by exclusion through their lack of strength, to burden them, to raise them, to hold them, to carry them on, to carry them forward into the loom, and see and hear the death, the care, hearing, the eating, read their stare in the care of I do not see, I do not hear the letters, I read, I care of hearing in the heart of death, read the earth, heart, death, read, hear, there, stare, star, store, steer, the heart's careful death, the letters, the missing letters, between the letters, the heat's careful reading with the red, are the dates the care eats from the threads I do not see within the twist and turn of the stare, the star, what I hear and read in the dearth, the heart, the eye, the earth is death's heart here, red as stolen star cares, hearing death thrifts, death's thrift, these stare, earth's hearty death, read, care, art, date, eat, tread, heart, care, heart, and heart, care, art, date, threads of strength to burden them, to raise them, to hold them, to carry them. But I also see in the indecipherable carriage almost within, ever almost carrying the carriage, almost allowed within every sense, almost allowed within the dread of threat, and the many voices almost allowed, cared for, almost carried from the whisper of dread and threat of the many uncaring or caring voices, whispering aloud, almost included, of the many uncaring, caring, and howling names of the dead who belong to these whispered, caring words in the missing bees, among the still forms from within the remainders, carried, uncarried carriages that sat within the words formed from art, star, reader, led, stead, stayed, stare, earth, death, heart, steed, and stare, care have always already left behind their carriages. The blood of your stare, the blood of your heart, and the missing bee words from the thread in the bee, missing from the words in the thread, from that sad, unheard death, earth's heart, art, star, reading, led, steady, and staring have always already left behind the care I hear, the bleeding of your because, of your promised belonging from the threads of your promised bleeding, of your promised seeing the blood. I hear the creating of your care as I see to see, as I hear to hear, the care as I care to care, the carriage within the blood of your beloveds, the craft of your care, the craft of the eye missing from the threads, the bleeding of your because. I see the blood of your beloveds. I hear the care unanswered in the letters of love and the longing aloud. I see in the missing threads of your promised belonging the names of the dead, the whispers of the howling dead. I hear in the missing threads of your promised belonging within the literature of their laws, the letters of love and the longing to allow the letters to wander beyond their allotted limitations within the literature of their laws. See their seeing and carriage and care in their carrying that they take to be and become letters, however poorly formed. And the O is missing from the thread, however poorly formed, and the O missing from the threads, and the O is missing from their care. I see a circle scorned because someone seemed in his incompletion to act as the marked, the failure to touch, and the care I heard, in the care I heard a grasp of circles and their incompletion, in the care because someone has noted where the care of graphite or ink finds its terminus, fails to touch the origin, a circle scorned for its incompletion, for its deception of itself as something other than circle, beginning first into marking the orderly form demanded by our publisher in graphite or ink at the terminus where it fails to touch its inception from its position above the page, demanded in the erasure of our typos, its incompletion where the terminus fails to touch the beginning first, our poorly formed grammatical markings, the care that we fail to take in the transcription of the words mark into marking, marked into the orderly form demanded by our publisher from his position above the page, form demanded by our publisher from his position above the capital page, the missing threads of your promised belonging into the eye, missing from the threads, the careful carrying, the wilderness of night, the smell of light, the careful carrying, belonging I into it, such course, the way, the direction, the returns, the care in the end, missing from the threads of your promised belonging. I smell the night, yes, smell the care of night, not see nor hear. Have you spent enough time carrying in the wilderness, for the wilderness of night, to know and love the wilderness of light, to know the smell of the wilderness of light and night, Cecilia, of light and night, into the careful G, missing, into the careful missing in the G, from the threads of your promised belonging. I go, I carefully gather, I get, I growl. I go on, I create care, because though I love the smell of night, to know enough to take care, to defend myself from within its scented gathering, I have not spent enough time within its careful secrets, for us to know to enough, to take, to care for, to defend myself from within its sentence, and sensing, spent, sensed, smelling, you see, know, you hear, have you spent enough time and the care taken to read the text of its typos, to rid the text of its typos in this last and final stanza, in the mind's typos that carefully present themselves, ignoring the caretaker, ignoring the missing G from the threads of the promised care of belonging. I go, I gather, I get, I growl, because though I smell the love of the scented scenting and sensing den within the smell of night, I have not spent enough time within its secret forest to know enough to take care, to know enough to take care, and defend myself for then its scented sentence and sensing time within its secrets, for us to know enough, Cecilia, the smell of night, the night, yes, smell, not see nor hear. Have you spent enough time in the missing G from the threads of your promised belonging? I go, I gather, I get, I growl, because though I love the smell of night, because I love the smell of your promised belonging, I go, I gather, I get, I growl. I have spent enough time in the secret forests to know enough to take care, and sensing dens within the scented breath of night, to defend myself, centered sentence, the smell of night, and carefully sensing dens of scented night.